variant identified.
I beg your pardon?
Everyone loves a good redemption story.
What?
Let's face it, we're all suckers for them. Watching a previously bad character find a way back to the light usually makes for some of the most interesting characters in pop culture, as well as just top-notch entertainment, am I right? I mean, it's why we're so excited for Loki, right?
Now, hang on just a minute.
The Marvel Universe is jam-packed with previous baddies who redeem themselves.
Stop the car!
Did your favorite make the list? Let's discuss right now. Loki was one of the MCU's first great bad guys. The trickster god was a standout in the first Thor movie and then was brought on to be the one to basically unite the Avengers in the team-up film. He's devious and has done some terrible things, but he's just so charismatic and charming that you can't help but want to see more of him. After the first Avengers movie, huge steps were taken to redeem his character. First, the MCU has now stated that Loki was being influenced by the Mind Stone in the scepter, so his most evil actions weren't all his fault. Then they made him a somewhat hero in Thor Ragnarok, as he helped save Asgard from Hela. Well, at least it's people. It's such a great moment at the end of the third Thor film when he decides to stick with his brother from now on. Of course, where does that get him? Choked to death by Thanos like 12 seconds into Infinity War. If he hadn't turned good, the OG Loki would still be alive. Just saying.
Absolutely not.
If you would have told me while I was first watching Captain America the Winter Soldier that this long-haired, brainwashed assassin would someday be fixing a boat with Sam Wilson while hitting on his sister,
I'm Bucky.
I would have thought you were brainwashed by HYDRA. But nope, it's true. Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, has had a fascinating trajectory in the MCU.
I always wanted to do that.
He started off as a hero, then was brainwashed to be a villain, and has worked extremely hard to not only break the intense hold HYDRA has on him, but also to make amends for his actions. That's why Bucky is one of the best redeemed villains. You can see how hard he's working. Most villains will have one big moment of redemption and their story is over, but not Bucky. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show showcase just how Bucky is trying to redeem himself for his past actions, and it's turned him into one of the best characters in the MCU. But Bucky, I know going through that list is important to you, but please know I, and probably the whole audience, believe you have already redeemed yourself.
Who the hell is Bucky?
Quit beating yourself up so hard. Thanks to WandaVision, Scarlet Witch is now one of the MCU's most popular and most powerful heroes.
Yes!
So sometimes it's hard to forget that she started off in the MCU as a villain. Same with her brother, Quicksilver. Wanda and Pietro grew up in tough circumstances and had to watch their parents die in front of them thanks to Stark weaponry. This put them on the path to volunteer for the experimental procedure to make them mutants. Oh, wait, no, sorry. I meant make them miracles. At that point, we couldn't say that special M word yet.
No.
They then both fought alongside Ultron, but thanks to the whole Ultron wants to destroy the planet plan, the two were able to ask themselves, hey, are we the bad guys here? And then switch sides. Quicksilver redeemed himself at the cost of his own life, while Wanda has been slowly working to become a great hero. Though, depending on how you look at it, you could call entrapping an entire town in a fake reality and condemning your villain to a fate worse than death without anyone calling you out on it possibly a bit of a backslide. But who's to say? Yondu in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie was a minor antagonist who served to be a bit of a thorn in the Guardians' side as they faced the bigger Ronin threat. Oh, he also had a cool arrow. But then in the second film, the layers were peeled back to reveal an incredibly flawed and complex character who, yes, did some bad things in his life, but was sorry for them. He turned out to be Peter's main father figure and was 10 times better than Peter's actual father. In fact, he was 1,000 times better.
Not so bad.
Anyways, just as we were beginning to see Yondu as a potential future Guardian of the Galaxy, he sacrificed himself to save Peter, his surrogate son. It's a beautiful moment for a character I'm sure most of us didn't think much of at first. I will not die a monster. Those are the last words spoken by Otto Octavius in the beloved Spider-Man 2. Alfred Molina's portrayal of Doc Ock is often cited as one of the greatest supervillains in a superhero movie, and for good reason. He's a tragic character, and although he does some pretty bad things throughout the movie, you always understand why he's doing it. And of course, there's that character flip at the end where he finally realizes how dangerous his experiment is and sacrifices himself to shut it down forever. It's such a complete redemption arc that you have to wonder why they're bringing back this version of Doc Ock for Tom Holland's Spider-Man No Way Home. M'Baku started off as Black Panther's biggest rival.
One more word, and I will feed you to my children.
As the leader of the Jabari tribe, M'Baku challenged T'Challa for the throne, and the two had an epic brawl. Of course, T'Challa won the battle, and it looked like M'Baku would return to his tribe to lick his wounds and find a way to strike back. But actually, the opposite happened. When Killmonger took over, M'Baku was the one who saved T'Challa's life and helped him fight against Killmonger's forces. After this battle, M'Baku became one of T'Challa's closest confidants and advisors and fought side by side with T'Challa against Thanos' minions. When we think of Black Widow, we think of a founding member of the Avengers, a leader who made the ultimate sacrifice, and a fighter with a signature leg wrap around the head kick thing. But let's not forget Black Widow's origins.
You don't know everything about me.
We've only ever seen Black Widow as a hero, but keep in mind, she was one of the world's top assassins, just like Winter Soldier. It was only after Hawkeye was sent to kill her and made a different call instead that Black Widow switched over to the side of heroes. Gamora is Thanos' favorite daughter, and for a long time served as his right hand. She was known and feared across the galaxy, and whenever there was a special mission, Thanos would send Gamora to get the job done. But of course, she realized that Thanos was a monster that needed to be stopped, and eventually betrayed Thanos. Man, everyone just betrays this guy, don't they? And did this betrayal and turn to the side of good damper Thanos' love for Gamora? Nope. He still loved her so much that he was willing to throw her off a cliff. Yeah, that makes more sense if you know the context. Nebula stayed a villain a bit longer than Gamora, but did eventually switch sides and redeem herself.
You're weak.
For her whole life, Nebula was consumed with the idea of beating her sister, which she could never actually do, which resulted in her becoming more machine than person. But once she was able to let go of that hatred toward Gamora, she turned into a much more heroic character. When everyone was snapped away, she spent the 5 years with Rocket Raccoon doing Avengers-type work and fully redeeming herself by helping save the whole universe. I mean, I could spend this time saying that Baron Zemo redeemed himself and Falcon and the Winter Soldier by becoming a character who isn't afraid to get his hands dirty for the greater good of the entire world, as opposed to his Civil War personality of wanting to destroy the Avengers out of revenge and grief. But come on, we know that's not what happened. The only thing that really redeemed Baron Zemo's character is his much talked about dance scene. He was always well liked, but that quick shot of Zemo dancing in the club instantly made him iconic, and all of his past sins were just washed away in one glorious techno-infused moment.
I have no intention.
Harry Osborn in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy had a fascinating 3-movie arc.
How'd you like that, Spidey?
He started as Peter's best friend, slowly became obsessed with killing Spider-Man in the second movie, then took that classic Goblin formula and turned into a big bad in the overstuffed third film. But Harry didn't stay on his villainous path. He redeemed himself by realizing that maybe his father wasn't that great of a guy after all and wasn't worth fighting his best friend over. Then he sacrificed himself to save Peter from Venom and died a hero in the arms of his 2 best friends. Would you doom other planets to a horrible fate if it meant saving your own? That's the predicament the Silver Surfer found himself in the Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Treasure each moment with her.
The big silver dude that looked like Doug Jones but sounded like Lawrence Fishburne was a herald for the planet eater Galactus. By joining with Galactus, Silver Surfer protected his own planet, and that worked for a while, but then realized this wasn't the way to live life. He redeemed himself by turning against Galactus and teaming with the Fantastic Four in order to stop the big space cloud once and for all. Magneto has always towed the line between hero and villain.
Yeah, I'm Eric Lensher.
In the first X-Men movie, he was the ultimate bad guy, the mutant who wanted to turn all the world leaders into mutants to help with mutant rights. His methods were extreme, and he was an overarching bad guy for the 3 original movies.
No.
But then the Michael Fassbender version of the character worked hard to redeem him. That past version of Magneto was never really a villain and teamed with Charles almost every time to stop a big threat. Storm was one of the main heroes of the OG X-Men trilogy, but her appearance in the prequel trilogy started off less heroic. For most of X-Men Apocalypse, Storm is a bad guy. She willingly joins Apocalypse on his villainous quest and fights the X-Men on a number of different occasions. But of course, we knew she wouldn't stay bad forever. By the movie's end, she's switched sides and officially where she belongs as she stands side by side with the X-Men. Sometimes a villain can redeem themselves just by having a super sympathetic backstory. That's what happened with Ghost in Ant-Man and the Wasp. She started off as a villain, but then we learned that the only reason she's doing what she's doing is because she's in incredible pain as her body slowly phases out of existence. Her backstory is also horrifically tragic, so it's no wonder she started off as the bad guy. But once the Ant-Man team agreed to help her, she changed her tune a bit, and we realized she probably could have just asked them nicely to start. It would have saved everyone a lot of time. If there's hope for these villains, you think there's hopes for people like Ego, Thanos, Malekith, and Mysterio? On second thought, probably not. Those guys are the worst.